Sports Desk on Sin 90.7. You are here with Mike, Benny Boy, and our new host, Sarah, as well. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, Sarah, we believe you are a raging Richmond supporter.
I wouldn't say raging.
Raging, not quite raging.
Most of us have a little bit of craziness in us.
We do. We've got all the different sashes around the table here today, so it's if you're colourblind, you might not tell which one's which. But it's a pleasure to have you on the show, Sarah. You've got a huge AFL insight.
Yeah, I work a few days with the AFL website writing for them, so love my footy.
And to our knowledge, I think we actually covered your article last week, didn't we, Benny Boy?
We spoke a bit about it for sure, the Alistair Clarkson article.
And look, we wouldn't have been able to find those statistics just from thin air, so, you know, your insight was very, very important indeed. Talking about Alistair Clarkson, he comes up against one of his nemesis coaches in Big Johnny Longmole, the horse, and this is going to be a big, big game down at it's the MCG tonight. So got to brace the conditions, all you Melburnians out there.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting clash because Hawthorn were the only team to beat Sydney within the last 10 games. So the Sydney have been red hot, but do you guys reckon Hawthorn can potentially stop the running red flag favourites? You'd almost say.
Friday night games have something about them. I don't think so. I think Sydney are a different team, even to the one that lost to Hawthorn. Sydney are honestly my pick for the flag. I'll put that out there. I think Sydney, now they're up and about. You can't really stop them because they've got the experience, they've got the players. They've got a few X factors, namely Buddy, who can just turn a game on its head by himself. Unreal. I don't think it's going to be a blowout tonight. I do think that Hawthorn, they seem to match up against Sydney well, and it will be another close game, but I just can't see Sydney losing this one. If they drop this one, it doesn't look good on them. Losing twice to Hawthorn, a team that's not going to make finals this year.
No, they're not.
Well, here's a little fun fact for you. These teams actually match up better at their opposite ground. So Hawthorn are more likely to beat Sydney in Sydney, and Sydney are more likely to beat Hawthorn in Melbourne. So games at the MCG, my money's on Sydney.
Wow, there you go.
I wouldn't have picked that.
Yeah, it's a quirky one.
Strange
one.
Definitely a weird one. But it's grand. These have been two of the premier teams for the last 10 years.
I mean, Sydney in particular, they just have a way of just keeping at the top, not always getting the high draft picks, and they just have a way of doing it. The recruiting team up at Sydney, I think they're the best in the league by a straight, I reckon. I mean, the way they turn recycled players into stars and just build their team without draft picks, it's incredible. And it's Hawks versus Sydney at the grand final of 2012. I mean, they've given us some of the best matches of the decade.
Unbelievable.
Another cracker up.
Malcheski! Unbelievable. I got to get your quick thoughts about Kirk Tippett, where his fate's going to be lying at the end of the season. It looks like after last week's big game that Sydney were playing, that actually Callum Sinclair stood up and played really, really well in the forward line. Took, I think, 8 contested marks. He took a lot of contested marks in that game. And he's almost looking like he might cement that spot now in the forward line. And because Tippett hasn't really had a huge go in the ruck this season, maybe at the start of the year, I'm just wondering where you guys think he might be at the end of the season.
Yeah, Cal Sinclair definitely a match of his career, I reckon.
I think
5
so.
goals. I think it might have even been 10 contested marks.
Yeah.
Just really getting some consistent footy behind him after crossing from West Coast. We've already seen Toby Nankervis leave Sydney. He got forced out. Too many big men. Same fate awaits to Kurt Tippett, or...
I think we'll see Tippett. Tippett's in a bit of a bad situation. I reckon he'll go to a team on a smaller contract. And it sucks because when Tippett's up and about, he's a great player and he's done some good things for Sydney, but there's just no room for him in that current team. You don't want to be messing around with the current formula, and Tippett, when he's had his chances, he hasn't really stood up. So I think he'll go to a club with a smaller contract, and this may be the last we've seen of informed Kurt Tippett, unless he can find it over the pre-season, but the signs aren't there anymore.
It's not looking good, and Sam Naismith has really locked down that role as the number one ruckman there, and despite the haircut, he's done very, very well.
That the less we say about that haircut, the better.
I think so. I think for his sake and our sakes, we probably should divert from that topic. But yeah, this is going to be a good game. But I think Sydney will be probably too strong in the end. Will Hayward comes in and Daniel Robinson has been omitted. So Josh P. Kennedy playing his 200th game, by the way. Overall
Against
AFL.
his former club.
Against his former club, quite fitting.
Yeah, big day for the Kennedy family.
Wonder whether the grandfather's going to be there.
I'm sure he will.
I'm sure he will.
You'd
be.
hope so.
You'd hope so.
It comes one game after Josh J. Kennedy played his 200th for West Coast.
Isn't that unbelievable? Imagine if they were on the same round.
So close. Yeah.
Sometimes you can't script that. Yeah.
The newspaper headlines would be going berserk.
Oh, they would be. They would be the two Kennedys just going off end to end, and if they because I think Kennedy kicked 6 goals last week, which is almost a milestone, one of the big milestones in a milestone match, which is pretty rare to do these days.
Milestone squared, you might say.
Yeah, milestone squared,
exactly.
and milestones all around. So I wonder for Josh P. Kennedy, whether he'll be maybe notching up 40 disposals or whether he'll be he himself might be kicking 6 goals. You never know.
I reckon 35 touches, 20 contested.
I think so.
Yeah.
10 clearances.
Yeah,
He loves playing on the G.
He does. That would be quite fitting for him, I think. Now we move to Blundstone Arena on Saturday, so the climate's going to drop slightly. And North Melbourne up against Melbourne. Now, North Melbourne play pretty well down at Blundstone. They absolutely blew Adelaide out of the water earlier on in the season. And this match has a fair bit of intrigue around it. And I tell you what, if Brad Scott continues those sprays, I tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me if North Melbourne get a little bit fired up for this game.
Yeah, well, they do have an incredible record over Melbourne. They haven't lost to the D's in 11 years.
Oh,
11 years. What were you guys doing 11 years ago?
11 years ago, gee.
Oh, I was 8. I was probably I think I was in like grade 3.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing much. I'll tell you that
11
much.
years ago.
Yeah, I just hit high school. So
Just hit high school, wow.
the only Melbourne player to have beaten North Melbourne is co-captain Nathan Jones.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
the only one on the list.
That's crazy.
And is he even named? That's the question. I think he might still be out.
Double-checking the teams.
Yeah, I think he might be out.
Yep.
Gee whiz. So this is a team that haven't tasted victory against North Melbourne as yet. So
and
I think
it's a very important match
this is
for
a
Melbourne.
huge
Sorry,
game.
just in terms of they're in the top 8, but they've really got to cement their place.
They do.
So a big win over a struggling North Melbourne, it has to be said. They're playing quite a young lineup.
They are.
Is very important for Melbourne.
Well,
And yeah, North Melbourne have some good ins this week. Robbie Tarrant and Jack Zeeble both come back in. We were both at the game last weekend. And when Robbie Tarrant was named out, I think it was literally in the warm up just before they went to go shake the hands in the middle and toss the coin. So it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
But North Melbourne put up a great fight last week. I was quite nervous.
I was very nervous for the first 3 quarters. They actually looked really good. Their pressure was just immense. I can almost see them getting up here against Melbourne. Depends. It really depends how Bruce goes against Gawn, because Gawn has been a little bit off as of late. Just a tad for what we're used to expecting from him. If he can get back into form, Melbourne probably take this, because it just comes down to who gets first use of the ball from their ruckman.
And the other in we haven't spoken about for North Melbourne is Braden Bruce. He's
Ooh,
come in
very interesting,
playing
this one.
named at first ruck up against Big Gawny. So does that mean is that Majak in the forward line then?
Potentially here. We saw Majak. I think he really he was competing very well, and even Tom Bell Chambers said on radio that in most of the centre bounce contests he was really up to it. But it was, I think, around the ground he got really bullied. Just thrown out of the a lot of those contests, and so it kind of made Essendon get those clearances and those kind of around the ground clearances. So I think that's what made Brad Scott really irritated. He's a big boy, Majak. He's got to throw his weight around a little bit more. He's still getting used to the game, but bear in mind he's been in the system for over 6 years. So you'd think by now he really should be hitting his straps.
And an elite environment too. It's not like he's playing 6 years of community footy. He's a full-time footballer.
Yes, this is at an AFL club.
That is true, but he has had limited opportunities.
Correct.
Because when you do have Goldstein, who up until this year was arguably the premier ruck. I mean, barring last year when we saw Gawn just destroying everyone in his path, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
But Goldstein has always been in front of Dawes, so he hasn't really had the opportunity. This might be a changing of the guard. Bruce comes in. He's been killing it in the VFL, and Scott's been saying, well, I really want to bring him in, but the structure doesn't fit it because Goldstein is playing. But now Goldstein's out. Maybe this is the way of the future.
Potentially,
I can see Goldstein getting traded at the end of the year and going with a Proust or ruck combo from here on in.
And we'll get to it later with Shane Mumford being out this week. Might be a nice little lure for our good man down at GWS to come to North Melbourne maybe at the end of the season. Of course, we're talking about Kelly in that discussion there, but it's going to be an intriguing clash this one, I think, as well. But yeah, it's certainly North Melbourne are going for a younger team. They did it last week, and I kind of like the look of them. They're obviously not playing for finals or anything like that, so it's just kind of see what kind of team that they can field this year, and they've been pretty good actually.
Big Benny Brown at full forward.
He was amazing.
Really cemented his spot in the lineup. He's back home in Tasmania. He's a Tassie boy.
Yes, he is.
So it could be a big show
the
for him.
climate won't
Get
affect
their hands
him.
out.
Jeez. Tell you what though, like with the countdown clock at the games, you feel like he's always running out of time with his run up. But I reckon they allow it to go another 15 seconds longer. Like they know it's a long run up.
How good is it? I love watching his run up because he starts about 50 metres from where he needs to kick it, and it's just like a train coming in, just going in a straight line, does not deviate.
And it's working for him, so why mess with it?
It works so well.
And a lot more easier to watch on the eye than, say, Ahmed Saad, who used to just stare at the goals, the death stare, and it took about 40 seconds for him to run in. And when he missed it, it was just sad.
Some of the stutter steps that we see sometimes.
Gee.
Not a fan of the stutter step at all.
No, I'm not at all. I don't know how that affects your kicking, but, it must be a mentality these days that, you can kick straighter with it.
Throw in the arc. There's so many variations on a goal routine.
There are, and selling the candy as well is another big one as well, which just completely throws out the window any of those other kicking routines. Joey loves it though.
It works for him.
And it works for him very well. So, Melbourne do need to win this one, and looking at their last five, they've got GWS after this week. Away, I think, and then they've got St Kilda at home, Brisbane at home, and Collingwood at home. So they could come home like a train, but they've got to win this week, and they've at least 2 or 3 out of those 5 will cement them a spot in the finals, I think.
D's in the finals. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? It's been a long time coming.
Well, Porter nearly in the top 4. This season? I'm going to go on record and say it's the most even season I can remember. And I feel like we say that most years, but you just can't predict what's going to happen from here.
You can't. It's one of the most enjoyable seasons to watch in that regard, and equally frustrating if you are a supporter of the Dons particularly. And Richmond, you've had your ups and downs as well.
Definitely had our ups and
downs. A lot of those close games going the wrong way.
There's a 3-week period there where I almost turned my back on footy for good.
Yeah. Look, don't blame me. Don't blame me.
It was a tough time. And of course you had to break that.
Just only makes us stronger.
And you had to break that cycle against the opposite sash as well, which also hurt. But you win some, you lose some. Talking about teams that have to win some, GWS this week are up against Fremantle at Spotless Stadium. This is a pretty important clash for them. They've really got to make a statement here. They've really got to get their supporters coming back to the footy and really bring some life back into that team. They've got a big in this week. They've got two. They've got Jeremy Cameron and Stephen Coniglio, he's been killing it the last couple of weeks. Good to see him back from injury. I think he'll be very important for that midfield. But
Coniglio he's just all class.
He is.
And the most important thing about him for GWS is the fact he takes a quality midfielder. Opposition midfielder to stop him. That lets the likes of Dylan Shield off the chain, and
Josh Kelly as well.
Josh Kelly.
There's just so much quality in that midfield.
Lockie Whitfield, Tom Scully. Wow. We can just keep going.
The list goes on.
But I think we've missed the most important news.
Yes.
The mighty Dawson
Simpson's
comes
back
in for his GWS debut. Shane Mumford out with an ankle. which gives us the mighty ruck duel of Dawson Simpson versus Sean Darcy.
Wow.
One for the ages. Get down to spotless.
This is going to
Look,
be big.
it could have been Mummy
Every
v
sense of the
Sandy,
word.
Yeah.
but we've got Dawson v Darcy, which
In saying that,
could be it's going to be an entertaining
Ticket booster.
duel.
Darcy has been killing it. He's been wearing that number one ruck mantle with pride. He's doing
For a
very well.
first-year ruckman,
Oh,
he's
he's doing
been
very well.
outstanding.
They've got a player there, I reckon. Like once the crossover, what's the word I'm looking for? The transfer between Sandy to Darcy. I mean, we're going to see another absolute beast in the Fremantle colours for the next 10 years.
The Fremantle doctor's just going to blow through and take Aaron Sandilands with it. It has to be a fair breeze, but it looks like Freo have their brand new ruckman. He's looking very good, and a couple of handy ins for Freo as well. Luke Ryan, I quite like him. I had him in my super coach until he did something a little bit naughty, and so he's coming back in. Brendan Cox as well, Cameron Sutcliffe, and Brady Gray. So nice little inclusions, but yeah, Stevie J as well. Also out with a knee for the Giants. And
of course, Toby. Oh,
Toby. Naughty boy Toby. He's done it again. We always seem to get just a little bit surprised when he does it, but we really shouldn't be. But, he'll need some discipline. I don't know how you punish a guy like this. I don't know whether you take him out for another week. I mean, it's a crucial time of the season. You need players like this in your team. I think Cameron's just going to have a very strong word to him.
The thing about Toby is that he goes all out.
He does.
He was one of the few Giants to play 4 quarters of solid contested footy against the Tigers.
Correct.
And if you're playing on the edge that whole time, sometimes it can spill
Something's
over.
going to give.
Saying that, may just have to rein it in a little bit. He got an extra week because of his bad record, extra week suspension. So that's just going to accumulate the more silly things he does.
The problem is, with a player like Toby Green, A, I assume people have tried to get through to him before. It's just not working. But B, if you try and rein him in, he won't be that game winner that he is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
he's one of the biggest talents in the AFL when he's just not doing stupid things. So it's almost a trade-off. You know what you're going to get from Toby Green. Sometimes you're going to get a match-winning performance. Sometimes you're going to get a 2-week suspension, and you can't really have one without the other.
That's right. And if you can play on the edge and just maybe, become a little bit more disciplined with how he actually approaches some of those players, there's a lot of ways you can get stuck into a player or, intimidate him without, having to go that extra step. And that's just the fine balance he has to find. But once he does that, it wouldn't surprise me if he was in contention for a Brownlow.
Oh, Brownlow and a Coleman.
And a Coleman as well, because he does have that amazing mind, and as we saw against West Coast earlier this year, he can turn a game on its head. He's unbelievable. Now in Sydney, I just want to do a shout out to these amazing 3 girls called Lauren, Jasmine, and Isabel. They will probably be at the game, and if they are, they will be wearing glitter, ladies and gentlemen. So get down to the game, see the glitter girls. They are amazing. They are the pride of Sydney. And, Vivid Sydney would not be vivid without them. So they are absolute superstars indeed. So shout out to them. Now, moving on to the Adelaide Oval, we've got Port Adelaide versus St Kilda. This is an important game for St Kilda if they are really serious about this season getting into the finals for the first time in a long while.
Most definitely. And unfortunately for the Saints, have got a few big outs. Lee Montagne's got that hamstring injury. He's said that this could be it for
game.
Joey.
Yeah, this is a bit of a light in the sand moment for Joey. His stats have actually been really good this season as well. He's been right up there with with some of the best players in the St Kilda lineup, and he's managed to get a really good run on the park as well. So he's been terrific. But yeah, him and Nick Riewoldt out this week. The 2 senior heads. Either it's time that Nick Riewoldt needed a rest. It's been a couple of frustrating weeks for him. Very good in, actually. Tim Membry, he's been out with suspension. It's good to see him back. He really helps their structure up forward as well. And Maverick Weller as well is one who we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think Mav might have been dropped, actually, a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But big body.
Good to see him back.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Port Adelaide have some pretty handy ins as well. Jasper Pittard, of course, got dropped a couple of weeks ago, and so it's good to see him back in. Chad Windard, though, is a big out. Not too sure how long he's going to be out for, Sarah, but it could be a little while.
Yeah, they're talking, it's a high ankle sprain, I think, so they're talking at least 2 to 3.
2 to 3, so... He's a pretty important player, the old Chad, and he's been playing
Definitely.
very well the last couple of stages. But Port Adelaide, it's hard to get a read on Port Adelaide. That game last week, hard to still get a read on whereabouts they are.
When they're good, they're very good, and when they're bad,
They're very, very
very
bad.
bad.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide love beating up on weaker opponents.
Well, they do.
Their percentage is the second best in the league. They're sitting in 5th position. So that sort of gives an indication as to Port's season. They win big, but they don't win all the time.
That's right.
They just need a... I don't know. We said that when they beat West Coast, maybe the jury would stop chattering, but I'm still suspicious. I still don't think in September it holds up. I think they play a really good team. They just fall apart. We can see that we've seen them be cut open. I mean, Essendon cut them open, cut them to shreds at Etihad. And I don't know. I'd be very worried if I was Ken Hinkley.
Yeah, despite the fact that I think they might be 5th on the ladder, they're right up there. They're right in contention to grab a top 4 spot with such an open season. They really need to win those games against, top 4, top 8 opponents, in order to really consider them as a serious contender. And just as yet, I'm not quite sold on them.
Yeah, definitely not sold.
But they should be winning this game, I think, Benny. I think they should be winning this game against St Kilda, a team that really are fighting for a spot in the 8. And, if they lose this one, I think it's practically curtains on their season.
Unfortunately for Saints, I'm feeling a big Port Adelaide win at home against a weakened opponent.
Yeah, I just think Saints... I reckon Saints have dropped it a little bit here. I reckon they should have realistically been making the 8, but they've got a bad run home. So yeah, I think Port by quite a few goals. But we're gonna go to a song now. This is Falls with My Number, and you've been listening to the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk on SYN 90.7. You're here with Mike, Benny, and Sarah for the first time. Sarah doing a hell of a job here.
Cheers.
Pleasure to have you on board.
A great
indeed.
debut.
Great debut, and AFL insights as well. You can't beat that. Stat lady Sarah, is that we're going at that as yet, or
maybe not quite.
Maybe not quite yet.
Quite there.
We won't go to the early crowers yet. But doing a hell of a job, Sarah. Pleasure to have you in, and we're going to go straight to Carlton versus Geelong on Saturday night. Very surprised Carlton actually get a Saturday night clash against Geelong, but the last couple of years, I can recall them playing pretty decently close matches, besides, of course, the little era there where Mick Malthouse was coaching. But besides that, Carlton usually make it quite hard for the Cats.
Yeah, they do give the Cats a run for their money. There has been several close matches. Carlton coming off a very disappointing loss to the Lions. It was. They came back in the second half, but just blown away in the first. Left too much in too little time, unfortunately, for the Blues.
Really hurt him that, and I think Carlton have been really, really good this season. I've really liked some of their young guns. I think they've had the highest amount of Rising Star nominees as well, which I think is the first time for quite a while for Carlton. So
and they're high quality Rising
Mm.
Star nominations too. You got the likes of Charlie Curnow, who is going to be an absolute gun at full forward.
Anthony Koutakides has already been compared to him, or he be compared to Koutakides.
Yeah.
I think. Let's not flutter him too much as a young man, but he's looking the better of the two Curnow brothers. It's fair to say.
Yeah, it'd be a bit unfortunate for Ed.
Reminds me a little bit of the Jackson Merritt, Zach Merritt.
Ed's an excellent player in his own right, it has to be said. Quality tagger. Carlton struggled without him on the weekend.
That's correct.
Dane Zorko got off the chain, so still a place for Ed Curnow in the lineup.
Still, and he was really good in his first couple of seasons there at Carlton. So it goes under the radar a little bit, but there's some good DNA going through the Curnow blood. It's fair to say, I think, and. Positive ins as well for Carlton this week. I love Caleb Marchbank. Of course, he's a Rising Star nominee as well from the Giants, and he's been looking the goods as well. He's very solid in Supercoach as well for all of you out there who do have Supercoach and fantasy. Simon White comes back in. Solid defender. But Nick Graham omitted, which is a bit surprising. He is pretty flat on the weekend, and Harrison McCready being managed as well. So, but the Cats have some decent ins this week, Sarah.
The Cats do have some decent ins. Andrew Mackie is...
the Mac.
That's just a handy in, triple
Gee.
premiership player.
Oh, yeah.
200 plus games.
One of the most elite kicks in the competition.
Unfortunately, young Zach Guthrie's had to make way for Mackie to come in.
That is a bit sad.
Zach's played well last few
He's
years.
been very good.
He's possibly the skinniest defender running around the AFL.
I wasn't going to say it, but yes.
A very strong wind would down at Simmons might
It's
struggle
another
a little
strong
bit with that.
footballing family, the Guthries.
Yeah, I was going to say is there a relation, and I think Guthrie, is a pretty rare name. I don't think it's like your Smiths or anything like that, but nice bit of DNA running through their blood as well. Stephen Motlop being managed. I want to get your thoughts on this. Stephen Motlop at the end of the season, I think he'd still be contracted, but talk is that a lot of clubs are coming after him.
Oh, look. Stephen Motlop, when he's up and about, one of a delight to watch. But
Best place to watch.
It's
a lot of talent.
lot of inconsistency as well.
Correct.
I can see a club putting out maybe a 2-year offer for him. I reckon he should take it because maybe he'd play better when he's one of the headline stars, because he does go a little bit under the radar at Geelong and sometimes he'll go a month and just doesn't put anything in, but he'll go another month and he'll look like a Brownlow winner. So
and Geelong do have some really good young talent coming through.
do.
They've been quietly developing them in VFL there. Nakai Cockatoo's an in. He's a big in.
Big in.
Brandon
Love the
Parfitt
cockatoo.
is another in. He's absolute quality young kid.
I'm
Excellent skills.
I reckon he's going to be a star in the future.
I reckon he will be.
James
Love the
Parsons
name.
has just been quietly plugging away in the seniors. He's promoted off the rookie list at the start of the year. He's a forward who's stepped up nicely. So a bit of pressure on Stephen Motlop. He's down as managed.
Oof.
So managed could mean anything. It's a nice coverall term.
Oh,
Yeah, it is a very nice term.
And Daniel Menzel out with general soreness. So is this the time of the year we start seeing the general soreness come
I
out?
think so. Chris Scott has said in the past that with Daniel Menzel's injury history, that if he was quoted as saying if Menzel sneezes in the warm-up, he's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
They are so cautious with Daniel
are.
Menzel, and with good reason. He is
An absolute star.
great player. Provides is important to their forward line structure too.
How good is it to see him back? Like, just
So great.
see him performing, because everyone knew he had the talent, but his body just wasn't doing it. And it's a great story to have him back and playing well.
You almost have to pinch yourself when you see him play, because for so long there, 4 knee reconstructions, it just didn't look like it would ever happen again. And to see him almost get, and touch wood, 2 years almost on the park, playing pretty consistent footy. It's great for Geelong fans. I think it's a long time, and good for the game.
Yeah,
Great
I
for
just
the
think
game.
it's great for footy.
Yeah.
So I think Geelong will be getting up in this one. They've got some really handy ins, but Carlton will give them a good go. I think it'll be close.
Hopefully the Blues will bounce back.
Hopefully the Blues will bounce back, I think, yeah. And then we go to the Gold Coast, where the Gold Coast Suns are up against Richmond. Of course, no Carmichael Hunt, so it won't be.
God for that.
Thank goodness for that. so it may not be too many concerns for the Tigers, but
I'm wary. This is a danger game
This
for
is a
Richmond.
danger game.
This is one in the past they would drop. And the big news coming out of Tigerland is Jack Riewoldt out with a scratched cornea, which sounds incredibly painful.
oh gee.
You wouldn't want to have been
Wow.
the teammate to have accidentally poked him in the eye at training. That's what's happened, unfortunately.
Long
and-
fingernails.
Yeah.
Oh
ooh,
jeez.
Marking contest, not
jeez.
good.
Ouch.
Um,
oh wow.
And Tigers have gone with the interesting selection strategy of not bringing in a tall forward. So
Very surprised
we've
about
got Toby Nankervis at centre half forward, Ivan Soldo running in the ruck, third gamer, I think, third game, and about, I don't know, so I'm going with Toby and the 7 small forwards.
I was going to say, there's a fair cohort of them down there, I think.
Yeah, we've
and
got-
Shai Bolton as well being named.
Yep, Dan Butler, Daniel
Oh.
Rioli, Jason Castagna, Bolton. Got Shane Edwards can run
Shane
through
Edwards as
there.
well.
Kane Lambert.
a very small forward line.
It's a very small forward line, but
But it could work.
It could work.
It could work
I
very
think
well.
we'll see Dimmer swinging Dusty to full
Yeah,
forward. Josh
sure,
Caddy
yeah.
can also play that
Yeah.
role, the strong-bodied midfielder out of the square.
Very good choice, I think, for that one as well. And Anthony Miles is very interesting in. I've liked the way he's been playing. He's been killing it in the VFL for for Richmond pretty much the whole season.
Absolutely dominating the VFL. Unfortunately, for Miles, he sort of lost his spot a bit with Dion Prestia coming into the team.
That's right.
With Prestia out with knee soreness
Knee
against his former club, he's not going to have the opportunity to come up against the Suns.
Isn't that gut-wrenching?
But like you were saying, Ben,
Always conveniently happens.
it is the time for general soreness.
It is.
So maybe just a bit of a rest for Dion.
Yeah, just maybe a rest against a perceived weaker team before we go for the rest of the season.
Perceived weaker team, but two very handy ends.
Oh, for sure.
Co-captain Stephen May, one of the best fullbacks in the competition, and of course Gary Ablett.
Ablett is back. Oh, this is good for my super coach. I've been persisting with him all year, Gary. He's been frustrating. He comes in, gets 159. Next week he misses. The week after that he misses. He comes back, gets another huge score. So he's been very inconsistent and still very hard to get a read on where Gary's going to be next season. But when he's up and about, the Suns, maybe they just lift just a little bit, maybe rise a little bit.
Definitely. And we were talking about Richmond's small and speedy forward line. They've got some, the Suns themselves got some speedy defenders. So it could be a very quick game. They've got likes of Adam Sard. Pierce Hanley off half-back flank's been really good this year.
Pierce Hanley.
Jared Harbrow.
I'm a massive fan of Pierce Hanley. I think, he's a gun. It was a really good get for Gold Coast, and it makes a lot of sense, I think, just having him back there in the halfback distributing. I mean, Harbrow's been great this year. His distribution off halfback has also been... Honestly, I reckon he might be Gold Coast's best player for the year, along with Stephen May, who... If Stephen May was at a Victorian club, he would get spoken about so much more.
Every week.
He flies under the radar, but he holds up that back six so well.
So well. Yeah, he's a terrific player. So Richmond will have a couple of interesting players on their hands, I think.
Yeah, danger game for the Tigers. Danger game. Shane Edwards' 200th game. He's been a great servant of the club. Servant of the club. He came in the dark days of the Terry Wallace era.
He did, well, yes.
So
all Tiger fans remember those. But no, good on him for getting to 200, and he's a very, very great wiry forward up there, and a pleasure to watch as well when he's up and about. So well done to him. Now, we head to the game, which I think both of these clubs have got everything on the line. This is going to be the Western Bulldogs and the Bombers at Etihad Stadium, 1:10. If you're a supporter of either one of these clubs, there is no excuse why you shouldn't be getting down to this game. This is huge. It's an early game as well. So all of you out there, get up early, have a nice breakfast, head down to the ground. This is huge for both clubs. We could almost say in this game, if the team that loses, they don't go on and play finals. It's going to be very difficult for them. These are the two clubs vying for that 4 points to get into the 8 and for Essendon to maintain that top 8 spot. This is a big game for them both.
Will you be down there so far?
I'll be down there, of course.
I reckon you're going to get there.
After giving that kind of pump up for this game, I got to go down there. I
was really hoping you were just going to say, no, I won't be there.
Nah, it's going to be too cold.
I think I'll let you guys go with this one. Take it away.
Well, might be a bit of bias shining through.
It's all right. I'll chip in with the doggies' feedback.
Yeah, okay.
Essendon, go.
You can bet for the Dogs in this one.
Look, I'm quite nervous. We've got D back, Langford back, Begley back, 3 to be cut. I'm not sure who's going to be cut this week.
I'm not really sure who's going to be getting the cut, to be honest.
I mean, I think Stewart stays in the team. He's been playing well.
He's been playing good.
McKenna stays. Myers stays. So I reckon it's out of... I reckon all those ins don't actually play.
Yeah.
Laverty played well last week. I was a fan. McKenna's been... his distribution off halfback's been incredible.
He's been terrific.
Myers is a little... I reckon he's back to where we want him, and Stewart provides us a big forward option. So yeah, I don't think they play. So we go. I'm going to say we go in unchanged.
Yeah.
Morris and Redpath the only outs.
Oh, yeah.
The only outs for Bulldogs.
They're pretty big outs.
Yes,
two big losses. So
that back line, it might struggle a little bit with some of the heat coming in.
Well, exactly. I mean, Essendon has Waller, Fantasia, Danaher, Stewart, all causing havoc up forward. I don't know. My bias will show through here, but I think we've got this game. I think we've stood up recently in the big games. I mean, at Etihad, we are a bit of a hunting ground for us this year.
We've looked good at Etihad this season.
If we can get our speed going, we didn't really get it going last week.
North, to their credit, they shut it down, and they shut it down pretty early in the game. But, you know, to Essendon's credit, we won that game tough. We stuck fat, and we actually got that game under our belts. You know, not playing our best footy as well. So if we hit our straps early in this game, because we have blown out a lot of teams in the first quarters, I think we've won most of our first quarters this season. We might be leading that in the competition. Might have to get Sarah to
check. We've got to get Sarah.
Chip in just a little bit of Dog's news. It's some really big ins. Travis Cloke is back.
Cloke.
That's great.
Great story. Great news. I think
it's really good for Trav himself. Obviously had a few weeks out with dealing with depression.
Yep.
It's been really good that's been a bit more public this year. Players are able to take that break. They've also got Tory Dixon comes in. Sharpshooter Tory Dixon does not miss.
Dead eye.
Fletcher Roberts slots in the back line. Lucas Webb and Tim English also named. Not sure if they're going to make the final cut.
Tim English, he's a very skinny lad, much like Guthrie. I think
he's a bit taller than
he was quite taller, but same kind of physique.
Massive wraps around him. He's a ruckman, but he plays a bit like a midfielder.
He does.
Went really high in the draft. The Dogs were thrilled that they got him.
He was still there. Yeah, I thought he was going to go a lot higher.
In the Blihalfs mode, he's a ruckman, but he just looks like a midfielder when he's running around.
He does. He reminds me of Casper the Friendly Ghost. He just floats around. He's very, very pale, but he gets the job done usually. But when that bloke gets some weight on him, he's going to be a monster for the future.
But they've definitely got a good one.
Very, very tall bloke as well. He'll just keep growing. So, gotta go with the Dons here. We've got 3 players playing their 100th and their 150th. I think, Mark Bagley's playing his 100th game, so he's notched up those games relatively quickly. And Cale Hooker 150th as well. So, got to get up for the big milestones, Dons.
Sure.
Come on.
What do you think, Sarah?
So, Caleb Daniel, heart and soul of the Bulldogs,
Oh.
game number 50. Good on you, Caleb.
No, Caleb. Oh, dear.
No, I'm with you guys. At risk of being shouted down, I'm not going with the Dogs. I'm going with the Dons.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
It's that sash loyalty.
It's sash loyalty right there. You've got to bat for the sash if the sashes aren't clashing. Now, the final game this round, West Coast.
Second last.
Oh.
Yeah, we've got to keep moving.
Oh, well, we've got to keep moving.
Swinging over to Perth.
West Coast Eagles, Brisbane. Look, West Coast should get this one done pretty easily. Big in with Sam Mitchell coming through. Matt Pritter's quad is a bit of a strange one, and Lewis Jetta a calf as well. So they're 2 pretty good speedsters through there in the midfield. So, look, I've got West Coast in this one, but I tell you what, if Brisbane could upset West Coast here, it would make Essendon getting that 8th spot a lot easier.
Eyes on the prize there.
Yeah, eyes on the prize.
Brisbane have taken this opportunity to rest some of their young guns. So Eric Hipwood, Jared Berry and Hugh McCluggage are all out just for a break. They've been playing really well, but trip over to Perth might be a little bit too much. They've also lost Dane Zorko through suspension. A bit of a controversial suspension, but suspension nonetheless.
He was killing it last week.
Dane Zorko's been killing it all year. He's
him.
one of my absolute favourites. So those outs, it's probably a bit too much of a stretch for the Lions to get up over the Eagles.
I would say so. I mean, West Coast will be fired up after dropping, I reckon, a definitely winnable game against Collingwood last.
Most definitely. That was not flash from the Eagles, to say the least.
And
also, Tom Rockcliffe's 150th game. So.
Terrific.
Nice little milestones all around. And Andrew Gaff, sorry.
Andrew Gaff.
Yep.
Gaffy was absolutely shut down
teams.
last week. Yeah, he did not look good at all.
Shut down.
Hurt me in the super coach as well, which I was not happy about. But
all about the super coach.
I'm all about the super coach. All about ladder positions. No, come on. We love the footy. And Collingwood Adelaide Crows, MCG, 3:20 game. This is a very intriguing clash, actually. I know Collingwood are probably just out of contention to get into the 8. You know, they've probably left their run too late, but they've strung some really good games together towards the end. Maybe playing for a little bit extra just to keep Bucks there as well, and maybe keep Eddie off the footy show as well. I'm not too sure what Collingwood are playing for at the moment, but they're building the right stuff. And Josh Dacos, if he gets his first game, Dacos is a huge name at Collingwood.
Most definitely. He was named earlier in the year, but missed the final cut. He was down. It ended up being an emergency. Yet to be seen if Dacos will come through for his for his debut, but it'll be MCG Sunday afternoon.
I
Great
don't know.
stage for him.
I feel like this has a bit of an upset. It's
I feel
upset
it, I feel
potential. I don't know. Collingwood.
You reckon Crows are due to drop one?
I reckon Crows are definitely due to drop one.
With
And
Paul Seedsman in.
oh,
Against his
harsh.
old side, I reckon. No, I reckon Collingwood might lift seeing Paul Seedsman on the other side of the fence.
They've got two big outs, the Crows. Brad Crouch is out with a cheekbone injury, painful. And Eddie Betts, of course, with the burst appendix.
yeah.
Equally painful.
Yeah.
If not more
Yeah, if
painful.
not
in
more
my
Well, yeah, I
opinion,
think Eddie
reckon.
said earlier this week that it was the most painful injury, if you will, that he's ever experienced.
Yeah.
I can't go past the Crows. They were red hot against
They were
Geelong.
great.
They was like Geelong, it was 1 versus 3.
I know. I'm just saying.
I have a bit of a weird feeling
got
about
a
this
weird
one.
feeling about this game. Just at the G, Sunday Arvo.
So Pies have nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the teams with nothing to lose are the most dangerous.
I reckon so. And but Travis Barco's a big out as well. I love
Yes,
when
that
he...
was a nasty injury. Did you guys see up? Yeah, big crash down to earth. And I think it was the double concussion and
Yeah.
elbow.
He's got some sharp elbows as well. Big Travis Barco.
Oh, yeah,
He's a
exactly.
dangerous man. They do poke out. Gee, it's going to be a great round of footy, guys.
Oh,
I'm really looking forward to this
Yeah,
round.
I'm definitely
It's be
excited.
great. And one word of advice for Joshy Dacos. If he marks it 30 metres straight out, I reckon just play on, run to the boundary
Yeah,
and try and snap one like your old man.
Yeah, I think that'll guarantee you a game for the rest of the season.
I don't care how you do it. You got to kick it
We'll
for the
guarantee
boundary.
you Colt status.
Yeah,
that's
well,
for
yeah.
sure.
It will.
Yeah.
Imagine if this one's a draw
Oh,
and Joshy Dacos is playing his first game.
Oh,
that would
gee.
just be. You
That
can read.
would be-
Yeah, you could have script that better. I
couldn't
reckon.
script it, yeah.
Now, getting to some other sports news as well. It's been a big week in the tennis as well. Now, one of our now guys, I just want to ask you a quick question. Okay. Now, if you've injured yourself and you play a light game of sport, is that all that tasteful? Like, if you know what your limitations are, playing a bit of a light game of, say, basketball. Put it out there. I don't know. Basketball, tennis. There's a fair bit of movement in both of those sports. What would you do that if you've had an injury, or should I say missing a tournament for it?
well,
Would you be talking about Nick Kyrgios here? Is that at all
I
possible?
might be
Yeah.
potentially hinting that.
So, of course, Nick Kyrgios
Yeah.
pulled out of the
Oh.
Atlanta Open. He was reigning champion there. Pulled out with a hip injury, hip strain, I think it was, and was spotted playing a game of mixed basketball back home in Canberra. You can't escape social media these days.
No,
There's
you
always
can't.
someone with a phone out.
Right, someone watching.
I don't think there's anything wrong with this, to be honest.
No.
I'm actually on Nick's side.
Ah.
I
It looked like he was getting pushed around the court a little bit, or was he?
Oh, look, I wasn't there.
No,
but-
Unfortunately, I wasn't playing in the game. I don't know.
No Canberra correspondence here.
You can also look at it as going to do something else once you've had a sick day off work. Like, I just think if it's not Kyrgios, does this story even get
Yeah,
covered?
No.
And the difference in physical output between a elite level tennis match and, with all due respect to the social basketball scene in Canberra, I don't think it's quite the same amount of physical exertion.
Yeah, I wouldn't be imagining so.
Yeah.
Unless Jordan turns up.
It's probably a good mental break for Nick too. He does
think
love
so.
basketball.
Yeah.
But imagine being the other team, rocking up and seeing Nick Kyrgios lining up for
you'd
your
go-
opponents.
I think you'd go pretty light on him. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the opponents might want to give him a
He's
shove.
a big
but
man, Nick.
He is a big man, Nick. In person, he looks a lot bigger than he is on the court. But I think this is fine, and I think if anything, it's probably a good thing he's not sitting at home playing basketball and eating a foot-long Subway. He's out there. He's staying fit. He's keeping his mind occupied. He's not putting up stupid tweets like a lot of people do these days. So I think it's okay for Nick. I think it's been covered too harshly on him, and just let the bloke play a bit of basketball. No problem with that. And on to some other tennis news as well. Djokovic, of course, the big joker. It was a bit sad seeing him having to leave Wimbledon early. He was playing some pretty decent tennis, actually. He was arguably getting back to some of his best tennis, and of course he's won the tournament a couple of times before, so it's looking like he might be ruled out of the US Open due to an injury and having to pull the pin on the rest of his season as well, which really hurts him.
Yeah, it's been the year from hell for Joker. He's obviously he's been one of the best player in the world for quite a few years now. It's just really struggled to capture that same sort of form, even dating back to the Olympics last year. I don't know if you guys remember, crashed out in the first round to Del Potro, I think it was.
A bloke who was stuck in an elevator for almost 2 hours. Unbelievable. Probably fired him up.
Yeah,
who knows what happened in that elevator?
Who knows?
But
he can focus.
He was probably very focused in his own little box. But, you do remember that patch between mid-January of 2015 and June 2016 where he won 17 of his 22 finals and played in 24 tournaments. Like, he just had an amazing run. He was getting the balance right. He just, I think, had a new addition to the family as well, which kind of just said he had a lot to play for and he had the right balance in his life. But of course, injuries can be cruel to any kind of player, and that balance can be completely thrown out by it. And you got to feel for him. The game's always made just a little bit better when you've got Joker out there ripping his top off and and winning some big games. So we love him out there. So and he's got a pretty good record at the US Open as well. So this does hurt him.
Yeah, definitely. I have read that his ranking could drop as low as 10. Imagine being the 10th best player in the world.
Be terrible.
In time for the Australian Open. He says he'll be back for the Oz Open. But that means that he'll have comparatively low seeding. What a dangerous player to run into in the third, fourth round. There'll be some Rafa and they'll be just a little bit nervous.
It's going to make for some interesting matches early on, which, got to say, it's always a good thing.
Definitely. We've seen Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal both have extended injury breaks, and they've come back better than ever.
Yeah.
Roger's basically playing part-time at the minute and just winning Grand Slams, just casually, just another Grand Slam in the back pocket.
Imagine being that good at anything. It just
incredible.
blows your mind.
He's incredible, and to win 8 Wimbledons is just unbelievable. And I mean, a quick question for you guys: what would be? Do you think the comparison between Nadal winning all those tournaments on clay compared to his clay dominance is just astounding? But then you look at Federer across the board winning all of his tournaments. It's hard to compare, isn't it?
Yeah, Federer has only won the one French Open.
That's correct.
And we say across the board, US and Oz Open played on a very similar surface.
Yeah, very similar surface.
But still, greatest player of all time.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, I love Rafa. Absolutely love. I love the fight. I love his determination. But yeah, hard to go past Roger.
The Fed Express. That's brilliant. And just before we sign off today, guys, it's been an absolutely cracking show. There's been some pretty big women's sport news as well. The WNBL has announced their new players' schedule. So there's some big returns in the TV, which is just great. We love seeing the basketball leagues, and of course, with a return to TV, with new games being televised on Fox Sport, and a number of big names returning, Liz Cambridge to mention just one of those many. Do you think this will be gaining more attention on the TV and be pretty well watched across the board?
Look, hopefully. The WNBL kicks off in October to a new shortened 3-month season, so short and sharp.
I like it.
Hopefully a bit more exposure for the girls.
Yeah.
We've got the likes of, unfortunately, they've got Erin Phillips running around for the Crows. She would have been a massive in. Imagine, but unfortunately, there's the pre-season of the Crows. WNBL clash. But yeah, we've seen the rise of women's sport in 2017, so hopefully it'll just kick on. Basketball, I don't know about you guys, but when I was in primary school, that was the sport. Everyone played basketball.
Yeah,
seems to have dropped off a little bit recently, but
grabbed a lot of numbers away from cricket by memory, particularly with the men's. It was pretty difficult, but yeah, basketball is huge all across the board and a lot quicker to play. Particularly on
definitely.
You go home a lot earlier after playing basketball, particularly if you get fouled out. But I'm sure you never got fouled out, Sarah. You would have been pretty consistent on the court.
Yeah. Just short and speedy and
short and speedy.
I was a netballer actually.
Oh,
so
netball.
I had one season of basketball, one goal.
One goal. That's
yeah.
pretty good strike rate.
I was the running player. I'm not sure what you call that one.
The centre?
The centre. That's the one.
That's very good. It's been a long time, I'm assuming, since you
guys
played.
Definitely.
And also as well, the Matildas have also started the Tournament of Nations today with a game against US in Seattle. Gee, pretty hard to beat the US on home turf, but the Matildas are a very talented team.
Matildas are just quietly going about their business.
Racking away.
It says Sam Kerr is a striker for the Matildas. She is in red hot form at the minute. Yeah. She's actually leading goal scorer of the competition in the States. So she is in comfortable territory.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
could be the
home ground
difference.
advantage
Could be the difference.
Wouldn't concern them too much.
Yeah, you'd hope. Maybe that's why they've gone over there. Get some experience, get to know the American crowds, and maybe we can upset the US over there.
That would be lovely. We like doing that. We like doing that.
They do have a strong lineup. The US
they
women's soccer
No,
team
always.
is definitely one of much comparatively stronger than their men's compared to the world stage.
I could believe that.
Yeah.
No, I
Men's side's pretty bad.
yeah, Australia's not much better though.
But we're not much
Probably
better. So
not even better.
We
at all.
probably can't talk as well. So that's all from us today. Sarah, been an absolute pleasure joining us today on the show, and you will be with us for the rest of the season as well, which is
definitely
very, very exciting as well. AFL Insight, we love that, and a lot of stats will be coming your way from Sarah. So watch out for the rest of the season from her. Benny, pleasure as always.
Pleasure to be here.
It'll be great getting down to the game on the weekend. This will be huge. Essendon Western Bulldogs.
Hopefully we have good things to report back next week.
Fingers crossed, or else it's going to be a pretty somber show, I think,
Yeah,
on Friday.
Look, can't imagine we're going to be very happy.
I think if all of our teams get up, we'll be pretty happy on Friday. I think it'll carry through the whole
it'll
week.
Be a nice
next
buzzing
week.
show.
Radiate our week next week.
Definitely.
That's right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Make sure you tune in next Friday and also on Monday on Sin 90.7. This has been the Sports Desk with Mike, Benny, and Sarah.
And stay tuned for Schools on Air.